Stuart Gordon, the director of tonight's movie, had a thing for H.P. Lovecraft. He wanted to make a series of Lovecraftian films all with the same cast. First, he did Reanimator, which did decent enough in theaters, so he moved on to From Beyond. Now, the original short story is only 7 pages long, so they had to add quite a bit here. Let's see how they did in From Beyond. First off, we see Crawford Tillinghast. What a last name! Tillinghast? He's played by Jeffrey Combs, and this is the first movie I've seen where he's the lead. Honestly, he carries the film. It's great. He's working in a lab as Dr. Pretorius' assistant, who's some genius scientist working on a new invention, the resonator. Is the sound of it firing up familiar? Anyway, they haven't had much success until now. Crawford finally got it to work. But what does this machine do? Well, it stimulates the pineal gland and it allows you to see into other dimensions. That's pretty cool. Too bad everything in this dimension wants to kill you. Knowing the machine now works, Crawford fires it up for his boss, who gets super excited, euphoric even. To the point where he can't turn it off, even though something big is coming. Across the lane, a nosy neighbor's watching all this and she calls the cops. But her dog jumps out of her lap and runs over to the house.
Bunny, come back!
It's kind of funny here. The dog's name is Bunny, and the actress playing the neighbor's real name is Bunny. Imagine being named after a rabbit. Anyway, she goes inside looking for Bunny and instead just about gets an axe to the head as Crawford comes running out of the room. He gets outside where the cops are waiting for him. They arrest him for the murder of Dr. Pretorius. But what really happened in there? Well, that's what Dr. Catherine McMichaels has been tasked with finding out. She comes to Dr. Block's mental facility to try to help Crawford. They have two very different opinions on how to treat patients.
You're in favor of using them in experiments like lab animals.
Catherine meets with Crawford, who tells her the whole story. He explains how they made a machine that can see creatures from other dimensions. They're actually in the air all around us right now, but you need the machine to see them. And when it's on, they can see you too. Pretorius couldn't turn it off, even when something big was coming for him. And in Crawford's words,
bit off his head. Like a gingerbread man.
Obviously, no one believes his story. But after getting a CAT scan, Catherine sees that his pineal gland is massive. So maybe there's something to his story.
God. There, do you see that? Mm-hmm.
She's given full authority over Crawford, and he's released under her custody. To make sure that everything goes smoothly, she's enlisted Sergeant Bubba Brownlee to protect her. Played by Ken Foree, or Peter from Dawn of the Dead.
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
I really can't think of anyone better for protection. They go back to the house, and obviously Crawford's a bit apprehensive, but he does have to prove his innocence, so he doesn't have much of a choice. They wander around for a while, finding out that Pretorius was into some really weird stuff. They finally head up to see the resonator, and that's when Crawford attacks. But not Catherine. He's trying to destroy it, knowing its evil power. But in the end, they convince him to get it working again. He is the only one alive that knows how it functions, after all. Before flipping the switch, he warns them all not to move. I guess the creatures are kind of like the T-Rex from Jurassic Park.
You move, and they may see you.
He flips the switch, and soon enough, they start to see him. Bubba doesn't listen to the no moving thing, and he's attacked by this jellyfish. But that's the least of their concerns, because Pretorius is back. Or at least something that looks like him. He says that he's the master of this place, and Crawford can't believe his eyes. His old boss is alive and well. Well, much like Doubting Thomas, he touches him, and sure enough, he's a bit gooey, but there, until he starts to transform into something. Crawford knows that things have gone too far. It's time to turn off the machine. Catherine gets pretty excited by all this. Crawford isn't crazy, and there's a whole other dimension filled with monsters. For some reason, she thinks that this might be a cure for schizophrenia, something her father died of. So to her, this is personal. There aren't too many side effects as of right now for using the machine either, except a bad headache and, well...
Well, how about the hard-on I got? Is there a statistical correlation for that too?
Catherine should be happy enough. They got what they came here for, to prove Crawford's innocence. But I guess that isn't enough for her anymore. She needs to fire up the machine again, against Crawford and Bubba's wishes. In the middle of the night, she sneaks up into the attic and flips the switch, thinking that she can control it. But boy, is she wrong. Crawford tries to turn it off, but Catherine won't let him, stopping him the best way possible: seduction. As they make out, Pretorius shows up, all nasty looking. This breaks the mood a bit, and he grabs Catherine, wanting her for himself, and stopping Crawford from flipping the switch. His only option now is to cut power from the basement. But there's another monster down here. A giant snake-looking thing. Honestly, it looks really good. The two guys fight it to get to the circuit box, Bubba in his underwear, so thanks for that. While they struggle downstairs, Catherine's getting her head sucked upstairs. There's a lot going on here. The snake monster gets a hold of Crawford, and while it's busy with him, Bubba finally manages to kill the power. But now, Crawford's slick bald. Believe it or not, Catherine still thinks she can try the experiment again. Clearly addicted and acting like a junkie. But Bubba's had enough, and he pulls the plug on the whole operation, saying that he'll take her kicking and screaming if he has to. So, once again, she tries to stall using the only method she knows how, dressing up like a dominatrix. First, she goes to town on Crawford, who's just laying there, when Bubba comes into the room and tries to knock some sense into her.
Look at yourself! Look at yourself!
The resonator is clearly affecting her brain. Just then, electricity arcs and the machine comes back to life. They try to stop it, but Pretorius has other tricks up his sleeve, using these little bugs to surround him. Right now they're attacking Crawford and Catherine, until Bubba throws his light and it shines on him, so they attack him and quickly turn him into bones. It's nasty. Honestly, all Pretorius wants is a kiss. But come on, who's gonna make out with this thing?
Kiss, my dear.
At this point, no matter how much he fights it, Crawford's pineal gland is growing too much, and it pops out of his head.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
As she gets pulled in, Catherine shoots the resonator with a fire extinguisher and shorts it out. For now. Both Crawford and Catherine are locked up. Dr. Block's just about to remove Crawford's new gland when she gets interrupted. Catherine wants to go back to the house to prove to them it's all true. But Dr. Block's in charge now, and she won't hear it. She orders Catherine to electroshock therapy.
Prepare her for electroshock therapy.
Meanwhile, Crawford makes his escape into an office. And later, we see him chowing down on a brain. He snaps to for a minute, realizing that, yeah, now something's wrong. He's eating a brain. But then he sees Dr. Block, and he just can't resist. eating her brain like a zombie. Catherine's just about to be shocked when a nurse comes in and stops him. She knocks the guy out and makes her escape back to the house. Crawford sees her leave, and he ends up stealing an ambulance to follow her. Inside, we see Catherine does still have some common sense, and she arms a bomb to blow the whole thing up. But Pretorius won't make it easy. Crawford, now fully nuts, locks Catherine up in the bondage room, where she bites off his pineal gland. Boy, that's a sentence I never thought I would ever say. The machine comes to life, and Pretorius has Catherine right where he wants her. But then Crawford wakes up, all better now. He teases Pretorius, saying that he'll never know how to make love, and this really ticks him off, chasing after his assistant and growing wings to turn into this monstrosity. Honestly, at this point, Crawford doesn't stand a chance, and he gets his head bitten off. But Catherine's still chained up. Pretorius is coming for her, and the bomb's about to go off. Thinking quickly, she uses the monsters to set her free, wiggling her wrists so they bite her there. She tries to make her escape, but Pretorius is waiting for her, and she has to run upstairs with only 30 seconds left on the bomb. Looks like she's gonna have to go down with the ship, but then Crawford comes out of Pretorius. It's awesomely gross, and the two skulls fight. Crawford gets Catherine free with no time to spare, and she jumps out the window just as the bomb goes off. The neighbors gather around, wondering what happened, but all she can say is, it ate him. Looks like she's gone nuts now. And that was From Beyond. And what a wild ride it was! I don't really know what I was expecting, but it wasn't a giant gooey dimensional monster. I loved it! The special effects are top notch. In fact, the movie almost got an X rating because it's just so nasty. The acting was great and the story works. A little sci-fi and a lot of gore. There are some dumb moments, sure. Electricity can't flip a switch and put a machine back together, and I'm pretty sure no matter what, if a giant blob of a creature just tried to kill me, or kiss me, or whatever, I wouldn't try to turn on the machine to bring it back. But I guess you could chalk that up to being an addiction. From Beyond is silly, gory, and inappropriate, but that's what makes it great. Put the kids to bed and watch this one for a wild ride. And once again, these special effects are great. They rival John Carpenter's The Thing. Seriously, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. I give From Beyond 3 Ken Voorhees in his underwear out of 4.
Bit off his head. Like a gingerbread man.